In this video, we are going to go through all the ways in which you can edit and create prints in the multi-texture editor. I would first like to point out that I'm using a fabric that already has a texture within it. So my canvas size is already set. Right now my canvas size is 1024 by 1024 with 300 pixels per inch. I also have my transparent background on. I know this because this button is highlighted in blue. You don't really see much of a change when I turn this off because my fabric covers the entire space because the canvas was created based off of the texture size. I can also go into my preview settings here and start to play around with how I see the full repeat in my window. So again, I can go in and change so I see it a lot, or I don't see it at all. I'm just going to go back by hitting my reset button here and then exiting out. The first thing I'm going to do is start to add in some prints. So I'm going to go to my add button right here and bring in one of my prints. Now I'm going to bring in a PNG file. I'm doing this because I would like to have a lot of different colored layers. So I'm going to use this base texture as my ground, and then this graphic shell as my second color. Now, my canvas size is already preset, so I will have to resize all of my artwork down to this canvas size. It is best practice to work with a small canvas size. Instead of sizing your canvas size up to fit your largest texture, it's actually best to size your texture down to your canvas size. I have a few different options on how I can resize this. I could resize this using my wheel, which is what I'm doing here. I'm using this middle button to change both the height and width at the same time. Or if I'd like, I could just change my height around by just using this arrow, or just my width by using this arrow. Both are completely acceptable. You also have an unlimited amount of undos by just hitting Ctrl Z with Enclo. My other option, which I can resize my graphic, is I can go down to my transformation section down here, and I can actually use this size right here to change the size of my texture around. I can actually change it to the exact size of my canvas width if I'd like. Now if I select this lock button here, it will lock the ratio together. This is the ratio of the square, so whatever I type in here will automatically show up here. So I'm going to lock this so I can just type in 1024 once. I'd also like to point out the difference between tile here in my editor window and tile within the fabric roll. So this texture is tiled out within my entire fabric roll, just as it would if this was a normal print. However, if I wanted to tile something out within my canvas, I would have to select tile. These are two different things. I'm going to show you. So if I move this shell over, it's still going to be tiled out throughout my entire fabric, as you can see here. But it is not tiled out throughout my canvas. There's that big white space. If I wanted to fill the entire canvas, I would select tile and it would fill the entire canvas. But since this size already fits the entire canvas, I can just place it right here. Instead of going through the headache of making sure this is all matched up perfectly, I could use my tile here to just tile it out so that I know it will just fill the entire space. I'm now going to add a second print. So here I'm going to go to add, and here I'm going to bring in a kind of graphic. I'm going to add in some birds. So I'm going to play around with the size by using my wheel to adjust and change the size of this print. The wheel works exactly the same in this window as it would in the texture editor tool with your 3D or 2D window. Now, as you can see with these birds, part of the graphic is cut off. If I'd like to have the graphic extend to the other side of my canvas, all I would have to do is select extend to other side. So here I can check off extend to other side, and now I'd be able to see my birds extend to all other sides. And it will go through to the other side as you can see here. So each part is overlaying on top of the other, and it's the same below here. So what was cut off on the top will now show up on the bottom here. It's a way to make a nice continuous print repeat without having to do a lot. Finally, I'm going to add in my final texture for my print by hitting add, and this is going to be a splatter. Again, I can decide to resize this or move this around. Please note, if you would like to move around a layer, you must select that layer in your layer window over here. If I want to move around my bird texture, I cannot just select it here in my multi-texture editor window. I would have to go down here and select the birds, and then I could start to move my birds around. I can also decide to move the order around by using this layer window as well, by just clicking and moving my splatter layer down below my birds. I can also lock certain textures, so if I wanted to lock my base texture, I could. This would make it so I cannot edit this any longer. I cannot even edit the color. So I'm going to unlock this because I'm going to want to edit everything. So now we're going to move into how to edit each layer at a time. You have a few different options on how you can edit. We are just going to go over the basics of editing in this video. So we will cover color, opacity, and desaturation. Here I'm going to turn on my desaturation, and here I can play around with how bright or dark I want this layer to be. And then we can play around with desaturation on our splatter as well. And I can turn on desaturation for my shells as well. For my splatter, I can change my color, and I can change this to a white. For my shells, again, I can go into my color box here and use my colors to change this around to any color I'd like. Now, if I'd like, I can also change opacities. So here I can change my shells to 70. Maybe I'd also like to change the opacity of my birds as well. And I can also change the color of my ground here as well. So here I'm able to edit a lot of different elements at once to create a completely new print. Now that I'm all set with my print, which I believe I am, I can now just hit apply. I'm going to just hit apply because I want to play around with the scale, but with my 3D window here. Using my texture editor tool, I'm going to play around with this scale because it is always best practice to use the texture editor tool to play around with the size than your canvas within the multi-texture editor. If you make your canvas size larger, it will slow down your workflow within Club. So I like what this looks like, but I'm going to make a few edits within my multi-texture editor to make this look exactly how I want it to be. I'm going to hit apply again, and now you can see that it's changed. You can see all the changes you've made within your multi-texture editor happens in real time in your 3D editor. What's also really nice is here in my texture, this is actually saved as a print. So here I can go to File, Open, and I can copy this and put it in a folder that I can easily access by just pasting it. And now I have a repeat of this print that I can just put in any garment. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.